So my era of spending frivolously and wasting money at the grocery store is over. And today I want to take you guys into Walmart with me and share with you 25 things that I am not buying in 2025. And I'm also going to share with you what I am either buying or making to substitute those items. So let's go inside. Okay, so my family actually really loves these Snapple zero sugar drinks, but they're $5.88 for 6. So instead, we're gonna get a big box of this water flavoring. If I can reach it, the Sonic Limeade Variety Pack, you get 30 in here for $4.78. So I used to have these tiny little plastic bottles that I would make flavored water in and just have it in the fridge already so it was super cold, but the plastic bottles were not dishwasher safe. So that was kind of annoying to have to hand wash them all the time. So I'm just gonna make some flavored water in some mason jars, which is actually what we drink out of, which is actually, if I could speak, what we drink out of all the time anyway. So cheese is kind of a funny thing here at Walmart because a lot of times, like for example, if you get the block cheese, it's $2.24, but you can actually get the same amount of shredded cheese for a little bit cheaper. However, I am going to opt this year as much as possible to buy my own and shred it just because I think it tastes so much better and it's better quality. Prepared salads are also something that I'm probably not going to buy this year. This macaroni salad is actually good. Adam really likes it, but it's so much cheaper and honestly probably better tasting to make at home, especially like chicken salad and potato salad. All of that stuff is way better if you make it fresh at home. Something also that I've purchased in the past that I'm no longer going to buy are these protein little snack packs. They are super convenient. However, you can make them for much cheaper at home. So I bought these little storage containers that are basically just like the packaged ones you buy in the store. I got these on Amazon, so I'll put a link in the description box below. But basically, you can just put anything in here that you want. This one has some turkey. This is the carving board turkey. I like it for stuff like this because it's a bit thicker. And then I have some cheese. I just cut those up into bite-sized pieces. And then these Club mini crackers fit really well in there. I've got some cranberries. I need to dig in the pantry for some nuts, but a great way to kind of replicate this. And these are great too because you can wash them in the dishwasher on the top rack and make these over and over again for way cheaper than you can buy at the store. Also, I don't do this all the time, but when butter prices are super high, you can actually substitute shortening for a lot of baking recipes, like for your cookies or pie crust or brownies or whatever. So that's an idea too for when butter is not affordable. I don't know exactly what the price of butter is right now. I want to say it's like $5 a pound, something like that. Don't quote me on that, but like this shortening is $6.18 for 3 pounds. Another thing I'm not buying are like the Chobani Flips yogurt because it's so much more cost effective just to grab granola. I probably already have some fruit at home and some yogurt. So this is what I've been using for my yogurt instead of buying like the prepared Chobani Flips. I really love this honey vanilla Greek yogurt. You can get that at Walmart. And then I also really love Noosa. And then I've got some berries and then a couple different kinds of granola. This is just Honey Bunches of Oats granola. This one is from Aldi. It's a protein granola. And then when I pack these in my kids' lunch, I use this little Bent Go container. So you can put the yogurt and fruit over here, the granola over here, and it works great. I'll link this down below. It's dishwasher safe also, which is fantastic. If there's one thing I am continuing to buy in 2025, it's Factor. Thank you, Factor, for sponsoring today's video. I love using Factor because it makes my workday lunches so much better and it is so much cheaper than eating out, I promise. And it's quicker and better for you. So today I'm having this green chili queso and chicken thigh pasta with salt and pepper roasted broccoli. You guys know I love me a good Tex-Mex meal. All you have to do is bend the corner of this. You just pop it in the microwave for 2 minutes and 30 seconds. If you're keeping track of macros, they also conveniently have all of the nutrition facts on the back along with the ingredients, so you know exactly what you're getting. And if you've never tried Factor and you use my code to get your first box, you can actually get your meals for as little as like $6 each, which guaranteed is cheaper than going out to eat, especially these days. All right, let's try the queso chicken pasta. I stirred up the pasta with the sauce. There's shredded chicken thighs in there, some tomatoes. That's so good. This is one of these I'm like, I wonder how I can recreate this for my whole family. It tastes kind of like a nacho, kind of like mac and cheese with chicken. It's good. Factor has so many different dietary options, and like I said, it is my favorite solution for healthy weekday meals. So if you guys want to try it out, head over to factor75.com or click the link below and use code 50Chapin. That's going to give you 50% off, plus you're going to get free shipping on your first Factor box. That's code 50Chapin at factor75.com to get 50% off. Yes, half off, plus free shipping on your first Factor box. So I totally missed this while I was in the store, but the other thing that I am not buying this year are the Little Bites muffins. So I have bought these like intermittently in the past, especially when I'm traveling, because my kids do like to eat them for breakfast. However, I found a copycat recipe for Little Bites muffins, so we're gonna try that right now. So in this bowl, I've got 2 eggs, which I'm actually using egg whites because I made key lime pie yesterday and I needed egg yolks for that. Of course, eggs are super expensive right now, so I saved the whites. So anyway, I've got the equivalent of 2 eggs in here, 1/3 of a cup of sugar, 1 cup of this honey vanilla Greek yogurt, and some vanilla. Did I say vanilla? I can't remember. I'm gonna use my Danish dough whisk to mix this up. And then I've just got some melted butter here. I'm gonna let this cool a little bit before I stick it in there or pour it in there, otherwise it'll scramble the eggs. I added a cup of flour and some baking soda and some baking powder. I'm going to omit the salt that it called for in the recipe just because I used salted butter, or at least I think I used salted butter. I don't know if I still have the wrapper. I'll have to look. Let me grab my mini chocolate chips. 3/4 of a cup of mini chocolate chips. Do you guys remember when they were finding like mold in the Little Bites muffin packs? Am I the only one that remembers that? I feel like I remember that from when my kids were little. Now I've got a mini muffin tin here that I just sprayed with cooking spray. This recipe says it's gonna make 24, but I feel like I'm gonna have way more batter than that, so we'll see. I think I have another mini muffin tin somewhere. Maybe I'll have to look. Okay, and then all you have to do is kind of like run a knife around the outside of these to kind of just loosen them up from the pan. They aren't sticking too bad, so that's good. Then I've got a wire rack here. I'm just gonna put them on to cool. So these muffins turned out really good, better than Little Bites, if I must say so myself. I'll link that copycat recipe in the description box below if you guys want to make them. Another thing that I have stopped buying is either like the Kool-Aid jammers. These are 10 for $2.48. The Capri Sun 10 for $2.98. The reason I buy these is for my kids' lunches, but the better value is these little Hug fruit barrels, and these are sugar-free. You get 20 for $3.98, so a little bit cheaper. I was gonna say much cheaper. I wouldn't say it's much cheaper. It's a bit cheaper. So one thing I am not buying anymore is K-Cups because I am going back to a regular coffee maker. In fact, I'm just picking one up today for about $30, but the savings is pretty significant for K-Cups. So like this, you get 12 for $10. I am now buying whole bean coffee, which actually I have a coffee grinder at home, and the whole bean coffee, this is actually almost 2 pounds for $20. So I did the cost comparison between K-Cups and whole bean coffee. K-Cups, you get a 22 count for $15.66. Whole bean coffee, once you grind it, you can actually get 60 cups for $13.63, which is like 3 times as much for less. Another thing I'm not buying anymore, which I've talked about this before, is crumbled feta, like pre-crumbled feta. So this particular one is from Hy-Vee. They didn't have any chunk feta at Walmart today, but if you compare the price per ounce, the chunk of feta is often cheaper, and I think it tastes better. You can cut or crumble it up yourself, and it's gonna be way better than the pre-crumbled stuff. One of the other things now that I'm gonna make at home is Jello and pudding cups. So the Jello cups and the pudding cups are $2, I think $2.97 for 4, but I'm gonna go ahead and make some of this Oreo cookies and cream pudding. My kids will love that. So I've got 2 cups of cold milk in here. I'm just gonna add the pudding mix and whisk that for 2 minutes until it's thickened. Then I got these little cups on Amazon. They're pretty affordable. These are 5-ounce cups. So I'm just gonna take the pudding thickened up a little bit. I'm just gonna pour that into here. And kind of the cool thing about doing this yourself also is that you can like top these with like whipped cream if you wanted, Cool Whip I guess. And then also if you wanted to put like, you know, crushed up Oreos on the top or whatever, you're gonna have a lot more flavor variety than with just the packaged pudding. Okay, definitely not buying prepared fruit anymore. It's just way too expensive for what you get, so I'm gonna wash my own. And I actually just found a hack for cleaning grapes where you rinse them off and then you rub the grapes between 2 towels, and it actually does a really good job of removing all the grapes from the stems and makes it super easy. I'm also probably not gonna buy many bagged salads this year just because I can make it at home for cheaper and it's probably gonna taste better, especially if I make the dressing homemade at home as well. And then pre-washed lettuce is something that I pretty much stopped buying for the most part. If you notice all of the recalls that come out frequently, a lot of them are on bagged salad. So I do think it's safer somewhat to do your own at home. I used to buy this Avocado Verde salsa all the time. It's actually very good, but it's $3.38 and you don't get as much and it spoils rather quickly. So instead, I'm getting the Herdez guacamole salsa. This is a huge jar for just $3.32. Rice Krispie treats are another thing that I can very easily make at home. They taste better, they're a lot cheaper, and definitely get more bang for your buck. This huge bag of mini marshmallows to make Rice Krispie treats at Walmart is $1.68. Obviously you can make a ton of batches of Rice Krispie treats with those. And then the generic Rice Krispies at Walmart are $1.97. You probably have butter in your fridge, or you can buy some butter or margarine, and boom, you have Rice Krispie treats at home for way cheaper. Okay, so cooked chicken is also something I don't really buy because the price is kind of astronomical. So this, like for example, this 2 grilled chicken breasts, it's only 9 ounces. It's almost $8. Definitely cheaper to make it yourself at home, and it's probably gonna be better quality. Next is brand name pasta sauce. So Prego is $2.48 per jar. The Great Value brand of sauce is actually very good, and it's only $1.67. My favorite is the marinara. I buy this all the time. It tastes great and it's cheap. I've said this on my channel for a long time, but it's worth mentioning again that I don't buy boxed or canned chicken or beef stock or broth anymore. It's just not great to have to store. It takes up a lot of room, and like for this you're getting 4 cups of chicken broth for $1.37. But if you get like the Knorr bouillon powder, which is what I use, 1 jar of it is $2.43, and you can actually get 56 cups of broth when you reconstitute this with water. So it's such a better deal, and honestly it tastes better. One of the other things that I am going to buy as little of as possible this year is canned beans. I've actually been cooking my beans at home from dried, and I like it because you can kind of flavor them however you want them, and you get a ton more per pound. Like you can buy a pound of beans for like $1, and it makes like 6 cups of beans, cooked beans, whereas like 1 can is 86 cents. So in this stock pot, I have 2 pounds of pinto beans. I got these dried pinto beans from Aldi one of the last times I was there, and so all I did was just soak these overnight, and then I drained them, rinsed them off, put them in this stock pot with a bunch of water. I put half an onion, some garlic, and then I also added some of this Knorr chicken bouillon seasoning in place of salt. I do like the taste that it gives the beans, and that's one great thing about cooking your own beans, is that you can make them a lot more flavorful. You can flavor them with whatever you want. That way when you use them in your recipes, you're not gonna have to add as much seasoning. So these beans, it's gonna depend on how soft you want them. Usually it takes an hour and a half to 2 hours. So I just simmer them kind of with the lid partway off like this so they don't boil over. So from that 2 pounds of beans, these were all the beans that I got out of that. So 11, it's probably closer to 12 cups because I didn't do a great job of measuring. 2 pounds of dried beans, 12 cups of beans. Just for reference, there is 1.5 cups in 1 can of beans. The next thing is brownie mix. I've actually been experimenting a lot with homemade brownie recipes, which I'll show you guys in a different video, but I have not been buying brownie mixes, and instead I've been making my own from scratch with melted unsweetened chocolate and other ingredients, and they taste a lot better. So I was skeptical about the Walmart brand of Velveeta, the melt and dip, but it's over $2 cheaper than Velveeta, and I've actually tried it out in several recipes and it's just as good, so I'm gonna buy this from now on. Okay, next up is I'm not buying either pre-cooked or like pre-flavored rice for the most part. It's so much cheaper to just get a big bag of rice. I keep rice in my pantry all the time. It's something my family really likes, and then you can flavor it how you want. So one thing that I am going to continue buying actually is frozen breakfast sandwiches. So I actually priced these out. There's an 8-pack for $9.97. That's actually cheaper than you can make them for homemade, and it's more convenient. Now you may argue that homemade breakfast sandwiches taste better, and you'd probably be right on that. However, my husband is the only one that eats them, and he actually likes the frozen ones, so I'm going to continue to buy them. Garlic bread is another thing that I have stopped buying. It's actually not a bad deal. You know, you get 8 slices for $2.24. However, you can buy a loaf of French bread here at Walmart for $1, a stick of butter, whatever seasonings you want to put, garlic powder, parsley, salt, pepper, and you can make like twice as much garlic bread for like half the price. Something else I'm not buying are prepared baked goods. They do a really good job of packaging these so it looks like you get a ton of food. And these are rather big muffins, but for $5 I can make a lot more banana chocolate chunk muffins at home. Pico de Gallo is also something that I'm not going to buy prepared anymore because I can make it at home for much cheaper for a larger size, and it's going to taste better. Okay, so I will say, like, the garlic and ginger paste is something that is super convenient, but the price has gone up to almost $4 now. So I have been mincing my own garlic, just buying regular heads of garlic and ginger and grating it myself. Much more cost effective. All right, so give me some ideas in the comments. Is there anything that I didn't mention in this video that you all are trading in this year, buying less of, not buying? Let me know down below, and don't forget to check out Factor. You can get your first box for half off, so definitely take advantage of that free food, and I'll see you in my next video.